military chest with a Bonaparte as a commander, could not by force take a drink from the Ohio or make a track upon the Blue Ridge in a trial of 1,000 years. So I ask again, at what point shall we expect the approach of danger? I say if it ever reaches us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and its finisher as a nation of free men. We are destined to live forever or to die by suicide. Today, this generation of Americans has arrived at one of the great turning points of our history. Upon the outcome of this struggle is nothing less than the question of whether America will fade away as yet another failed socialist state, or whether this generation of Americans will rescue, redeem, and restore the founding principles that once made the American Republic the most prosperous and successful in the history of the world. It's now been 19 months since the inauguration of Barack Hussein Obama, with all of the hope and trust that the American people placed in him for our future. Well, think about what's happened during these 19 months, and think about how far our country has strayed from what Thomas Jefferson called the sum of good government, what he described as a wise and frugal government, which shall restrain men from injuring one another, shall leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread it has earned. Well, Barack Obama and his acolytes have run up more publicly held debt in the last 19 months than the total borrowed by every American president from George Washington to Ronald Reagan combined. For the first time in history, the full faith and credit of the United States is in imminent danger, undermining our nation's very security, because as we all know, you cannot provide for the common defense if you cannot pay for it. They've squandered our families' earnings to bail out failed corporations, paying out huge bonuses to the very people who created the mess on Wall Street in the first place. They've seized control of our health care decisions, our automobile manufacturers and dealers, the student loan industry, financial service companies. They've refused to enforce our immigration laws, and when individual states have tried to fill the breach, they actually filed a formal complaint against a sovereign American state with the United Nations. And when Americans across our country have stood up to protest, they've been called un-American by Nancy Pelosi, they've been called evil mongers by Harry Reid, and they've been called potential domestic terrorists by the Department of Homeland Security. But you know, this isn't happening in a vacuum. Something is stirring across our nation, something that we haven't seen in many decades, something that the Obama left does not understand and cannot possibly comprehend. It is called the American spirit, and it's back. It's right here at this rally and at other rallies like it across the country today. It's in every town hall, forum, and taxpayer rally across our nation. It has appeared every time our freedom has been threatened, and it is now returned in our own time. You know, John Fund of the Wall Street Journal tells the story of Major Pitcairn, the commander of the British regiment that attacked Lexington and Concord, thinking there wouldn't be any American resistance. Instead, the American people rose up and utterly decimated his troops. At one point during the battle, he turned to his second in command and shouted, "My God, where did all of these people come from?" John then goes on to recount being in Boston, where Major Pitcairn's regiment began its march that day for the final debate in the Massachusetts Senate race. Now, there was a huge crowd of Tea Party activists on one side and a much smaller group of purple-shirted SEIU demonstrators on the other. John decided to roam the purple-shirted side of the street, and as he circulated in that group that was completely outnumbered by the Tea Party activists, he overheard one of the SEIU organizers say to another, "My God, where did all of these people come from?" In our nation's capital are merely a reflection of a much larger debate that's going on all across our country. It's a debate that's going on at coffee shops and town hall meetings. It's going on over backyard fences and family dinner tables. And it is that debate that will determine the fate of our nation for generations to come. Many times a day I'm asked a simple question by folks who've never been involved in politics, who've never even attended a public meeting, but who sense their country's in danger and who are rising to meet that danger. And the question is always the same: what can I do? Well, there's only one answer to that question. It was first given by the great abolition leader, Frederick Douglass, to a young protege who posed that question to him. Douglass answered with these three words: agitate, agitate, agitate. There is only one way to meet the danger to our freedom that has sprung up amongst us, and that is to rally our friends and our neighbors and our fellow citizens. And that means taking an active role every day in the historic public debate that's raging around us. Stand up at every public meeting you can get to and speak out. Attend town hall meetings, call into talk shows, write letters to the editor, leave comments after the articles that you read online, email your friends, link to information, post on blogs, on Facebook and on Twitter, support candidates and causes that you trust. Agitate and agitate and agitate in every forum that you can find. Now, people say, well, what difference will that make? Obama and Pelosi and Reid won't listen. Well, that's true. What did you expect? But the voters are listening. You know, when Barack Obama took the oath of office, he scored plus 28 on the Rasmussen Presidential Popularity Index, plus 28. Last week, he hit minus 24. Might have supermajorities in both houses of Congress. They might have the most left-wing president in the history of our country. They might have most of the media and all of the union bosses, but they have lost the American people. Your voices in every forum that you can find every day have made the difference. And if you'll just keep it up, just keep doing what you're doing today, every day, history guarantees only one outcome. You will have saved our country. Yeah.